Okay, so we're gonna build a European hand-tied bouquet today using majority warm tones. I have a little bit of white in here and some cool tones in my greens. So I'm gonna start off with kind of more of a filler flower. So this guy he's nice and clean and he's fluffy and he's good starting point. So I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna frame each of my flowers with a layer of greenery. Holding my stems in my hand, every time I add something, this is gonna be my front, and I'm gonna do a little turn. And I'm gonna continue adding, framing my hydrangea. So I have framed my first layer with greenery. Now I'm gonna add some flowers that maybe tend to topple to the side a little bit. So from a design perspective, I would rather see all of my colors and all of my textures together rather than something that looks like this. So to do that, I'm just gonna play with Mother Nature a little bit and support his top-heavy head in this hydrangea. Good. So Gerbera daisies, same kind of idea. They tend to be top-heavy and their heads kind of tend to go wherever they want. So I'm just gonna manipulate that a little bit, nestling him in the sturdier, flatter-faced flowers, giving it a little turn, moving on again. So viburnum is a beautiful filler flower. So his head is also heavy. I'm gonna just weave him into that hydrangea and give it a little turn. So here I have something a little bit exotic, may not always be available. It's a cordyline stem, and I've just rolled the leaves and given them a staple. So I'm gonna use this just as a texture and also to break up that color palette a little bit and give something interesting. So then I have this nice blank space that I'm working with again. And I'm gonna add some of my skimmia. So skimmia is a very strong greenery, more so than it is a flower, but it's also got a different texture and it adds nice contrast. I'm gonna take one of my beautiful red roses and weave him right in there. So this stem, I'm just gonna stick in here. Flowers are a lot stronger than they look. So a lot of times you see people very carefully handling flowers. If you work with the way that they grow and the way that their textures run, they're less likely to damage and you can handle them a little bit better. So in addition, we were talking a little bit earlier about grouping when you don't always have the odd numbers. So you can form your flowers out like a dice sort of shape. So 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5. And if you only have 2, maybe just staggering them so that it doesn't look like this perfect symmetrical disaster. Okay, so I'm just gonna stagger those guys a little bit. So it draws your eye there, but it's not really intrusive and all over the place. And giving that quarter turn, I'm gonna use some of my salal again, just to frame these flowers and hold them upright. Okay, so now when I adjust this, I notice that my gerbera has moved down a little bit. So I'm just gonna pull him up, wanting to have a nice even flow. So I want it to start up at the top and kind of round down. So when you're looking at this, you're not missing anything. You're not missing any of these nice, beautiful face flowers that we're adding. So maybe over here in this space, I'll do another gerbera, keeping in mind that his head is really heavy and I don't want him to come down here and get lost. So I'm just gonna give him a little twist and nestle him in the more kind of hardy flowers. Adding a little bit more salal to hold him in place and a little turn. Good, so now I'm looking at my bouquet. Maybe I'm gonna add another of my floppy viburnums. So I'm just gonna weave him in, see how the head goes down. So I'm gonna manipulate that a little bit, bringing it up and supporting it with something stronger. So I have in here some more skimmia. So again, working under the knowledge that it grows up. So I'm not gonna yank that down, but I'm gonna rather kind of wiggle him up and in and give it a little turn. Okay, so we've only used one tulip and I've got a whole bunch. So I'm just gonna start placing some more of those in, keeping in mind, again, the heavy head and no greenery down below my hand. Okay, so now I've got another hydrangea that I wanna add. Maybe I'm gonna put that guy back up in here. So we're just gonna keep working with that spiral and those little turns. I'm also gradually pulling where the head is down so that you can see it a little bit more all around. Good, so I've got some more tulips. I'm just gonna weave those in. I've got one lonely tulip over here. Maybe I'll add a couple more of those. Sometimes in design, it's helpful to know the technicalities and the proper wording, and sometimes it's as simple as dressing yourself. If it doesn't look good, don't do it. So if this looks weird to stick over here all by himself, maybe I will nestle him in here. So I'm going to throw a couple more viburnum in there. And then I'm going to give it a twist. Okay, so now I'm at this point and I've got some more flowers, so I'm just kind of looking at this. Maybe something orange could go in here to break up all of that white. So I'm going to take my Gerbera and I'm just loosening my grip of my hand because my hand is acting like my vase. So I'm just loosening my grip and I'm kind of feeling where that spiral is and working with it. So again, this is something you feel and you trust when you look at it. Okay, so this is working out. Okay. So something I like to do too, just as something different and something beautiful and kind of eye-catching, this is a Monstera leaf. Again, not always available, but it's really, really nice addition. So I have this area over here where there's all these tulips. I know that they're gonna go kind of wanky when they grow, so I'm gonna pop this in there just so that it works with it. Sometimes if you can't change it, go with it. So I've got that. It's just kind of like a nice, different look to the bouquet. One more salal and I'll show you how to tie it and we will be moving on. Okay, so I've got my beautiful bouquet. I've got my beautiful spiraled stems. I am going to take some curling ribbon or string, whatever you may have laying around, and elastic works as well. I'll show you how with this first, so any kind of string. I'm going to take it above my fingers, pulling, so I have 1 inch, 2 inches, whatever that is, of a tail, and then I'm going to go above my fingers. So because I've maintained this nice spiral, all my stems are protected. I can pull on this, and I'm just taking it around a couple of times, and now it's held together without my hand. Okay, so these are some of the behind the scenes tips from a designer on what goes into the bouquet to get from this to this.